darkness, rows of razor wire fences, and depressed, angry people. This is often what we think of when we think of prisons. But the truth is, there is a vibrant, growing Christian church behind bars and a wonderful opportunity to share the gospel to the incarcerated in our land. We are going to look at the causes of imprisonment, the Christian church behind bars, and the wonderful opportunity we have to share the gospel to the incarcerated. In 2018, there was an estimate of 1,471,200 inmates in United States federal and state prisons. That is a rate of 710 out of every 100,000 people. Pennsylvania itself in 2018 had 47,370 people incarcerated. That is a rate of 370 people out of every 100,000 people. Almost one half of the U.S. population had an immediate family member in jail. So, what causes a large amount of incarcerations? Many of those in prison come from broken homes and terrible family situations. And there's a good chance that they had a family member in jail and felt trapped in that cycle of crime and imprisonment. Because of the hurt and insecurities in situations like these, many people turn to drugs to fill that emptiness and void in their lives. In Timo Miller's book, Beyond the Sunset and Razor Wire, he mentions that 80% of incarcerations are drug-related. I saw this firsthand. Men and women would be shaking from the effects of abusing drugs. Even though many in prison are bitter and angry, there is a vibrant, growing Christian church behind bars. There are men and women who are serving God the best way they know how and impacting others with their testimony. There was a man we met in a South Carolina men's prison who was a musician, and he was using the free time on his hands to write songs. When we were there, he had wrote around 47 songs and said that when the inspiration would come, he could hardly get the words down on paper fast enough. Also, during the Gospel Express Crusade, there were a group of inmates that were fasting and praying for the work God was doing behind bars that week. Even though these Christian men and women are confined and locked away, their spirit is free. It is not easy for those who are Christians to be in the prison environment. Although prisons do help keep criminals off the street, it doesn't mean it stops a crime and sin. Christians in prison are surrounded by vile language and perverse talk. They need our prayers and support. We as Christians have the opportunity and command to share the gospel to those in prison. Mark 16:15-16 says, "Go into all the world and preach a good news to everyone." And in Hebrews 13:3 it says, "Remember those in prison, as if you were there yourself. Remember also those being mistreated, as if you felt their pain in your own bodies." There are many in prison that are at the end of their rope, lonely, discouraged, and needing a reason to keep living. Loneliness is something a lot of the inmates deal with. Why is this, when you could be in a prison with 13,000 inmates, which is the case in Harrison Jail, or in a room with 60 men? Is it maybe because you're not with the people you want to be with? Loneliness is a reason many go crazy and commit suicide. Bitterness is something else the inmates deal with. Bitterness towards family members, friends, the government, and those who got them to the place where they are now. How will the inmates deal with things like loneliness and bitterness? What will happen if no one is there to show them God's love and to tell them about the gift of salvation that God has given to all men? Most likely, after their release, they would fall back into their old habits and crime and end up back in jail. We as Christians need to stop this cycle of crime and imprisonment by leading them to Christ. An encounter with Jesus can completely change lives. We need to take Jesus to these inmates so that once they are released, they will not fall back into their old habits but will start a new life. Now that we have seen the causes of imprisonment, the Christian church behind bars, and the wonderful opportunity we have to share the gospel to the incarcerated, my question for you is, what will you do? I'm not saying everyone should get up and go to prison. That's not practical. But something every one of us could do is pray. Prayer is a vital and powerful part of prison ministry. Prisons are a place where there is darkness and spiritual warfare. And prisons are a place where there are many hurting yet open souls. And thanks to those who are sharing the gospel to the incarcerated, prisons are a place where the gospel is going forth, being received, and being followed. So while it is true that prisons can be a dark, depressing place, there is also a vibrant, growing Christian church behind bars and a wonderful opportunity to share the gospel to the incarcerated in our land.